Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to talk to you about the judiciary in India. On this first slide, you see the title, Judiciary in India. We will explore how the judicial system works, its structure, and its role in our democracy. In the next few slides, we'll cover its history, key features, and recent developments. Let's get started. Now moving on to slide 2, which is titled, What is the role of judiciary? Here, I want to emphasize how crucial the judiciary is in our legal system. The judiciary acts as the guardian of the Constitution and ensures that laws are applied fairly and consistently. It interprets laws, resolves disputes, and protects fundamental rights. Essentially, the judiciary serves as a check on the other branches of government, maintaining the balance of power. This role is vital because it upholds justice and fairness in society. Understanding the role of the judiciary helps us appreciate how it underpins the entire legal framework and ensures that justice is accessible to everyone. Let's talk about the introduction to the rule of law in India. Essentially, it means that laws are applied equally to everyone, regardless of who they are. This is a fundamental idea because it ensures fairness and justice in our society. When someone breaks a law, there are specific procedures that must be followed, which helps maintain order and consistency. To make sure these laws are enforced properly, we have a judicial system. This includes courts that citizens can approach if they believe their rights have been violated. Think of these courts as the mechanism through which justice is delivered. Now, an important point to remember is that the judiciary, which is part of the government, plays a crucial role in our democracy. It helps uphold the rule of law and protect citizens' rights. But for the judiciary to do its job effectively, it must be independent, free from outside influence or interference. This independence is what allows the judiciary to function fairly and impartially, ensuring that justice is served without bias. So, in summary, the judiciary's role is vital in maintaining democracy and ensuring that laws are applied fairly to all. Now, let's look at the role of the judiciary in our country. Courts handle a wide range of issues, from deciding that no teacher can beat a student, to resolving disputes over river waters between different states, and even punishing people for crimes. Their work can be broadly divided into a few important areas. First, there's the judicial system itself, which provides a way for citizens to resolve disputes, whether it's between individuals, between the government and individuals, or even between different state governments. This helps maintain peace and order in our society. Next, we have constitutional interpretation. The judiciary is the final authority on understanding our Constitution. It has the power to review laws passed by Parliament and can strike down any law if it believes that law violates the fundamental principles of the Constitution. This power is called judicial review, and it helps protect the Constitution from any unconstitutional laws. Another crucial role is protecting citizens' rights. If someone feels their fundamental rights, like the right to equality or freedom, have been violated, they can approach the Supreme Court or the high courts for justice. This ensures everyone's rights are safeguarded. The judiciary also acts as a shield against undue influence from the rich and powerful, thanks to the principle of separation of powers. This means that the legislature and the executive cannot interfere in the judiciary's work, allowing courts to function independently and fairly. Speaking of independence, it's important to note that courts are not controlled by the government. Judges are appointed with minimal interference, and once they are appointed, it's very hard to remove them. This independence is vital because it enables the judiciary to check the powers of the legislature and the executive, preventing misuse of authority. Finally, the courts play a key role in protecting our fundamental rights. If anyone feels their rights have been violated, they can turn to the courts for help. This makes the judiciary a vital guardian of our freedoms and a cornerstone of our democracy. Let's take a closer look at the structure of the court system in India. There are different levels of courts, starting from the lower courts and going up to the highest, which is the apex court. Most people, however, usually interact with the courts at the lower level, known as subordinate or district courts. These courts are typically located in districts, tehsils, or towns, and they handle a wide variety of cases. Each state in India is divided into districts, and each district is presided over by a district judge. This structure helps ensure that justice is accessible and organized at different levels across the country. Let's take a closer look at the court hierarchy in India. As you can see from the table, we have three main types of courts: the Supreme Court at the top, which is the apex court, then the high courts, which are at an intermediate level, and finally the district courts, which are subordinate courts. This structure shows that our judicial system is integrated, meaning that decisions made by higher courts are binding on the lower courts. So, if a higher court passes a judgment, the lower courts are required to follow it. Another important aspect is the appellate system. If someone believes that a judgment from a lower court isn't just or correct, they have the right to appeal to a higher court. This creates a systematic way to review and ensure justice throughout the system. Overall, this hierarchy and appellate process help maintain consistency and fairness in our judicial decisions, reinforcing the integrity of the entire system. Let's take a closer look at the two different branches of the legal system in India. As you can see, the first is criminal law. This branch deals with conduct or acts that the law considers offenses. Examples include theft, harassing someone to bring more dowry, or even murder. When a crime occurs, it usually starts with the lodging of an FIR, which stands for First Information Report, with the police. The police then investigate the case. If they find sufficient evidence, a case is filed in court. If the accused is found guilty, they can be sent to jail and may also be fined. Now, moving on to civil law. This branch handles cases involving harm or injury to the rights of individuals. Examples include disputes related to land sales, buying or selling goods, rent issues, or divorce cases. In civil cases, the affected party has to file a petition before the relevant court. The court then examines the case and provides the specific relief or remedy requested by the complainant. Both these branches are essential to maintaining law and order and ensuring justice for everyone. They work together to address different kinds of issues that can arise in society. Access to justice is a fundamental aspect of our legal system. In principle, all citizens of India have the right to access the courts. This means that every person in our country can seek justice through the judiciary if their rights are violated. The courts play a crucial role in protecting our fundamental rights, ensuring that justice is served when needed. If someone feels their rights are being infringed upon, they can approach the court to seek redress. However, while the courts are available to everyone in reality, many of the poor and marginalized face significant barriers when trying to access justice. Legal procedures can be complex, involving substantial costs, extensive paperwork, and long waiting times. For a poor person who might not be able to read or write, and whose family depends on daily wages, the idea of going to court can seem almost impossible or very distant. This disconnect highlights an important challenge in our justice system, ensuring that access to justice is truly accessible for all, regardless of economic or social status. It's a reminder that while the law promises justice for everyone, practical barriers often prevent many from actually obtaining it. Public interest litigation, or PIL, was introduced by the Supreme Court in the early 1980s as a way to broaden access to justice in India. It was created in response to the many social issues and injustices faced by people, especially those who didn't have the means to approach the courts themselves. The innovative part was that anyone, an individual or an organization, could file a PIL on behalf of those whose rights were being violated. Even a simple letter or telegram addressed to the courts could be considered a PIL. In the early years, PILs were used effectively to address major social issues. For example, they helped rescue bonded laborers from inhumane working conditions and secured the release of prisoners in Bihar who had served their sentences but remained in jail. One of the most notable successes was the introduction of the midday meal scheme in government and aided schools, which was a direct result of PIL activism. Now, for the common person, access to courts is essentially access to justice. Courts play a vital role in protecting our fundamental rights. But it's also true that some court judgments seem to work against the interests of the poor and vulnerable. For instance, recent judgments on eviction cases tend to see slum dwellers as encroachers, whereas earlier judgments like the Olga Tellez case in 1985 aimed to protect their livelihoods. Another challenge is the lengthy time it takes for courts to hear cases. The phrase, "justice delayed is justice denied," captures this reality well. Long delays can mean that true justice is never fully realized. Despite these issues, it's important to recognize the crucial role the judiciary has played in India's democracy. It acts as a check on the powers of the executive and legislature and protects our fundamental rights. The members of the Constituent Assembly understood this importance and envisioned an independent judiciary as a core feature of our democratic system. Let's take a closer look at the judicial system overview. In a speech back in November 2007, the former Chief Justice of India, K.G. Balakrishnan, provided some important insights. He mentioned that India has just one Supreme Court, which is the highest judicial authority in the country. This Supreme Court is composed of 26 judges, responsible for hearing the most significant cases at the national level. Beyond that, there are 21 high courts across different states and territories. These high courts have a sanctioned strength of 725 judges, but as of March 2007, only 597 of those positions were filled and actively working. This shows some gaps between the ideal number and the actual strength, which can impact how efficiently justice is delivered. Then we have the subordinate courts, which number around 14,477. These include various district and lower courts that handle a vast majority of everyday cases. As of December 2006, about 11,767 of these positions were filled and active. Connecting all these points to our overall theme, it's clear that while the judicial system is extensive, it also faces challenges related to staffing and resource allocation. Understanding this structure helps us appreciate the complexity and scale of providing justice across such a diverse country.